Hi folks, today we're going to have a look at Kantian Ethics, and we're going to have a think about whether Kantian Ethics and its focus on duty is in fact a valid way to consider what's right, wrong, good and bad, whether the rejection of sympathy, empathy, love and all that sort of thing is actually a good way of approaching morality, or whether it's just too abstract and actually doesn't help us to be moral at all. Alright, so Kantian ethics then. Is duty the best way of assessing what is right and wrong? Alright, so there are positives to this idea. It is a useful approach because it's consistent regardless of the situation. It's absolute. Alright. Okay, but there are negatives as well. So, what if there's a conflict in terms of your duties? There's no clear resolution because apparently all duties are equally valid. So which one do you pick? Also, the concept of duty itself can be abused. Like, you might consider yourself to have a duty to be obedient to authority, and that can be abused. However, this isn't really a very good and robust use of the categorical imperative. It's quite a weak criticism. But what about the fact that human nature itself includes emotion and empathy and so on? And by rejecting those simply in favour of using duty seems strange and to go against human nature. So therefore, is it right to ignore your emotions? Well, you could argue yes, in that a rational approach like this avoids the inconsistency of emotions, because emotions are inconsistent. And so it creates strong moral guidance that will always be applicable. However, it does put excessive reliance on a person's ability to reason, and reason can be flawed, as we saw with natural law. And also, although emotions are inconsistent, they do help guide us to do some incredible things, like self-sacrifice and that sort of thing. So, it does seem that Kantian ethics is rejecting quite a lot of things that maybe shouldn't be rejected. So therefore, is it too abstract to be applicable? You could argue that yes, it is too abstract, on the basis that the real world is not logical. It's messy, it's ambiguous, and Kantian ethics can't cope with it, especially moral dilemmas where duties clash. It's all very well and good in theory, but in practice it doesn't work. You could, however, argue it's not too abstract, because it values people and their rights, and it's a good moral principle for fair treatment for all. Well, are you? No, we're good. So, is it a helpful method of decision-making? You could argue yes, because it prevents personal bias and exceptions from being made, especially for ourselves. Everyone gets treated equally, including us. And it's a secular theory that does not rely on God. Even though there's the whole summum bonum thing, it doesn't actually rely on it. You could argue no, though, it's not helpful, because the rejection of outcomes seems at the very best bizarre. Humans are generally goal-driven, that's just how we are. And it's better at telling us what not to do than what to actually do. We could universalise all kinds of strange maxims, like I could say everyone should wiggle their toes on a Tuesday. There's no reason not to follow that. And you could also argue from the perspective of the summum bonum that it still relies on God to some extent. But the summum bonum is the result of following the categorical imperative, not the reason for following it. But it does undermine its secular nature. So Kantian ethics has got these difficulties in the fact that it is an absolutist approach in a messy world, but you can't deny the fact that it is fair and treats all equally.